Good afternoon, guys. Belfast, boxing and blues. You know what it is. You know what it is. You know what it is by now. You know. I was out. I went to some gigs last night. We're gonna do a little musical review at some point later in the day. We're gonna play some jazz later in the day. We're gonna try to knock out 3 videos today, all in all. Yeah. But first, we're gonna talk boxing. So. I'd seen quite a few really good breakdown videos on the Raymond Ford Kholmatov fight. So I mean, yeah, like I haven't been following these guys. It's the first I've heard of either of them. Um, so I mean, I just watched a couple of fights last night, or highlights, whatever was available. Not a great amount of tape out there on YouTube for Kholmatov. And I think there were two fights, and there was the Patrick Ward one, was it? And then there was another one. Let's see if we can find the guy's name. Funny name now. What was it? Gregorian. The Gregorian one. I don't know if any have you noticed anybody that was checking out the stuff. It was one of those fights where it's sped up just slightly. It's really annoying. You can notice it, and as soon as you notice it right at the start, and then you can't, it just bothers you the whole way through the footage. So I didn't watch too much of that, but yeah, they both look to be really really good fighters from what I can tell. Like I say, late to the party in terms of knowing who these fighters are and appreciating them. But for me anyway, it's like banking rounds, because even this little bit that I can figure out about them, I'll do a prediction and stuff. Like I say, I don't have much to go on, but I'll offer up just a little prediction. Um, but kind of what it means for me moving forward is when these guys fight again, or any of their opponents fight, and you'll have a bit more insight, a bit more knowledge, so um, and like I say, I was watching some of the other channels, more hardcore channels, you could say, maybe more underground channels, though some of them have really big followings. And um, but I like the approach of some of these channels. The knowledge is really great, especially with the fights that aren't exactly the big marquee massive fights. So yeah, the True School Sports, I think, does some stuff's really good. Yeah. Who else is there now? There's a few other guys I was checking out there that I really like. I'll just drop some names in here. Boxing on the Edge, yeah, and the J Ruse theory. Yeah, I like those guys a lot. Um, it's just some good straight up boxing talk, and they know what they're talking about. These guys. Um, so like I say, I'll offer up my humble prediction from what I gathered from what I watched. So I mean, I watched highlights of the Raymond Ford Jesse Magdaleno fight. Of course, when I was looking at his box rec, that Magdaleno fight jumped straight out at me. A name that I was familiar with. I was looking at his record. He was a world champion at super bantamweight, wasn't he? I think he lost that title to Isaac Dogbo. Um, I remember his name being mentioned quite a bit, Dogbo. I remember Carl Frampton had tipped him to go on and do great things. I'm not sure how he's faring out now. And who else has he fought then? Dos Santos, I think he was sort of up and in there. And Donaire, he won that title off Domingo Donaire. So yeah, but he's 32 now. Magdaleno, and it seemed to be a good challenge for Raymond Ford. That was the first fight that I watched, and then I watched oh, who was the other guy now? Vasquez, maybe. Let's see, what was his name? Medina, John Magdaleno. Yeah, Edward Vasquez. I watched that afterwards. So what I noticed in the earlier fight, the Vasquez fight, you could really see the Floyd Mayweather um, influence in his movement, in his guard, in his slickness, his speed, reflexes. His hand speed seemed to be markedly more noticeable in that earlier fight than it was in the later one. Um, And you could see in that earlier fight, and the commentators of course mentioned it, that he was still settling into being comfortable with taking punches, sitting in the pocket and having to take a couple in order to land a couple. So I think what was going on there was he was a lot more looser, and the hand speed was more fluid and stuff, but maybe there was less pop on the shots. And in the Magdaleno fight, you can see that he was just a little bit tighter. So still quite smooth and fluid, and still a slick fighter, but he was trying to get a bit more thud into his shots, and as a result of that, he had to compromise some of his hand speed. At least that's what it seems like to me. Maybe it was just how he felt that night. I'm not sure. I would prefer to watch a fighter who's like that, when they're more fluid and just I won't say loose, but loose. And yeah, I mean, you can see the Mayweather sort of influence on him there. I mean, it's kind of a cross between Pretty Boy, Floyd, and sort of the later Floyd, say like Zab Judah kind of era, that kind of stage. But he's down like that, and his with his guard like that, one hand over the other and stuff, and then occasionally coming up like this. Um, I don't know if he quite has the same killer power that Pretty Boy Mayweather had, um, or if not, absolute killer power. Like, he was a good boxer puncher, you know what I mean. When he put his punches together, and obviously being the master boxer that Floyd Mayweather was, he was able to, with what power he had, when he could deliver it before he had hurt his hands, he could really inflict some damage there, So yeah, I mean, obviously he's not the master boxer that Floyd Mayweather was, but I think regardless of who wins this fight, and you can say the same for both fighters, but I'd be interested in watching this guy, because I really like this type of fighter. If you think of a Ward earlier in his career, or Mayweather early in his career, they built upon it, built upon it, built upon it, built upon it, and always added to their game and adapted their game as they get older and more experienced. So it's going to be interesting to watch this guy's journey. I think he's only 22, maybe a little bit older than that. He could be 23 or 24. Young guy, I think maybe something of a standout amateur. I don't know if so far his pro career has really delivered. Um, on what his promoters would have expected or hoped for, but I like the look of him. He inflicted quite a bit of punishment on Magdaleno. I think he had him down a couple of times. Yeah, he had him down in rounds 4 and 11. And like I say, by that stage, then a few fights on from the Vasquez fight, he seemed a little more comfortable sitting in the pocket. Now, I've noticed a lot of guys are really, really going for Kholmatov, and I can see why. Um, because obviously there's the knockout percentage, and there's the obvious power. There's the sort of industriousness of that Eastern European style, Uzbekistan, I think it is. Apparently, he's, in Uzbekistan, they really, really drill their fighters well. Similar to the Cuban system. I heard a guy saying this about that they sort of make them all southpaws. They turn out southpaws, whether you're right-handed or left-handed or what, which is interesting. And there's certain signature punches that they have and stuff. But I mean, just to my eye, you can see that he's a very capable boxer. Like a wide stance, mixes up his shots well. Can really light a fighter up because there's power in every single one of his shots. He's definitely got more power in his shots than Ford, but Ford can still hit a bit. And I think it'll be interesting to see Kholmatov's style and against someone of Raymond Ford's style. If Ford can fight a really, really smart fight and use his legs and stuff, and maybe use his smarts, you know what I mean, to really confuse this guy. But you would imagine, in order to really implement that and come out with a clear victory, he would have to have studied him really well. He'd have to have really done his homework and had a really good training camp. Because, I mean, the reality of it is, this Kholmatov looks to be a very, very good fighter, and he's going to be up against it. I mean, regardless of all that, I think we're on for a great fight. So we're in for a treat, and it's for a vacant belt. What's it for? WBO world title, WBA world featherweight title. So Um, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Like I say, I don't have too much to go on, but let's see, what can I predict here? Uh, I think probably the most realistic option is I think Kholmatov's gonna stop him in the late rounds, sort of around 7 to 9. I would imagine if I was gonna stick a few pound on it, I would probably group the rounds there and I'll go for that. I mean, he'll probably wear Ford down if he can get them. That is, which I imagine he will, because he's a good pressure fighter. Uh, it might look in this fight like Ford's running for a bit. I can see that playing out. Um, but if he can manage to hold his feet momentarily, get off some good shots, get out again, and like I say, not only think about how can I stay away from this guy's power, how can I confuse this guy and mess his head up, yeah, so that he's uncomfortable, and take that. What's his best weapon? Yeah, you say you're inspired by your Floyd Mayweather's, your Andre Wards, you know, guys like this of that caliber, and you got to look at what this guy's best weapon is and take that away from him. These are guys that are smart fighters, yeah, not just talented, they're smart, and they prepare to the utmost. So, if you really want to have your name up alongside those guys or anywhere near it, then you got to win with that kind of preparation. I'd like to see Ford win. Like I say, I don't know loads about him for some reason. I'm sort of rooting for him. Um, but yeah, I can see probably the most realistic outcome is for Kholmatov in the sort of mid to late rounds to take him out. Yeah, TKO. So there you go. I mean, that's that. Guys, I should probably just end the video there and make this a very short video that anybody can just click and check out. But we'll have a quick scan over the boxing news here, and we'll see what's going on. Interesting to see a few other people talking about the concerns for Ryan Garcia, how he appeared in the in the press conference, the Los Angeles press conference. I mean, yeah. I mean, like, I had seen one or two guys that had pretty much said, nah, I think people are reading into it too much. And then I'd seen others that sort of had been thinking the same way as me. And yeah, I mean, it is what it is, really. Um, you can't unsee that. you know, we all saw what was going on there. So it is what it is, man. It is what it is. So, like, apparently now they've got Canelo Alvarez, Jaime Munguia talks intensifying. Apparently, what does this mean? It's just an article. Let's see. We'll have a quick skim at it. Yeah. Okay. This is one of those articles. You read they have an anonymous source. So negotiations to make Canelo Alvarez's Cinco de Mayo weekend fight an all-Mexican showdown against unbeaten countryman Jaime Munguia intensified Friday, a key figure in the talks told boxing scene. I wonder who that was. It could be anybody, some guy ringing off an anonymous phone number and just talks some bullshit. Alvarez, boxing's most popular draw and its unquestioned top pay-per-view draw, has turned away from a highly appetizing match against unbeaten former super middleweight champion David Benavidez, and has labelled a bout against lighter fellow top 5 pound for pound member Terence Crawford a no-win pursuit. Same old nonsense. Have we got any quotes here? Have we anything to tell us? Nah, that article's dead, man. It's dead. Fighting words. Jake Paul's high-profile low-resistance development continues. Yeah, well, we got Jake Paul tonight as well, so Anthony Borland is that he fights. That should be interesting to watch. It's something to look at, isn't it? And the Amanda Serrano fight would be worth watching too. So None of the words in this column will change your opinion. Hmm. Whatever you already think of Jake Paul and his professional boxing career is what you will continue to think, but he's nonetheless a magnet for your attention, just like many other lightning rod fighters in the history of the sport. Like other controversial or infamous figures in this world, the people you either love or love to hate, none of the words in this column will change your opinion. I quite like the way he repeated that there. That's a nice poetic device, yeah? Yet you're still here reading these words. Heck, I'm sitting here writing them. Paul, who's made a comfortable living and built a sizable following thanks to social media, has now been fighting the past 4 years. The fact that he's still fighting, that we're still covering him, and that you're still reading is because so many people still want to see what will happen next to him, or they want to see something specifically happen to him. They either want to see Jake Paul prove himself as a real boxer, deserving of all this attention, or they want to see him proven a fraud, deserving all along of their derision. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, we want to see him prove himself as a real boxer, but at the same time, we have to, be honest. He's never going to prove himself as a true pro boxer. It's something he's only been doing for a few years. He's taken it up in his mid to late 20s. He's not doesn't have the same advantages of somebody who's been boxing since they were a teenager. He's never going to be a real boxer. You know what I mean? But of course, we will always demand more than what we expect to get. That's the nature of the game. Or they want to see him proven a fraud, deserving all along all of their derision. Yeah, I mean, I imagine like most halfway sensible people are kind of over that by now. It's like, alright, this Jake Paul thing's been going on a while. And it's like, we've like this fight isn't really being talked about and built up and in the sort of public eye to the same degree that some of his earlier fights were. We're kind of over him. It's like, yeah, just work away there. I don't know, man. I don't really care what happens in that fight. But I'll tune in and I'll watch it. It looks to be a good article. Whoever's written that. Let's see now. What's his name? They say it's all new writers up in here. David Griezmann. I think he might be one of the old writers. I think they might have hired that guy. Rehired. They fired and hired him. It's a long ass article, man. It's take you all day reading that. There's some news from Eddie Hearn and Jamel Charles took the WBA title. Okay. I suppose that he didn't fight a mandatory or something like that. Cruz to Davis. I already beat you 4 times. Okay, it's Pitbull Cruz, yeah. Yeah, it was a close fight when they fought, so they must have had a few fights in the amateurs, and maybe Davis was getting the favourable decisions. Who knows? Right. Okay. Here's something that's worth us hearing. Andre Ward credits unteachable resolve for first Kovalev win. And that was the one he was down on the cards, and wasn't it? It wasn't that second one where he went in and he messed him up. Alright, this article is by Lucas Catele. Sounds like he's from Scandinavia or something, isn't it? Some of those places. Alright. For many, the defining moment in the career of Andre Ward came in 2016 against Sergey Kovalev, with Ward cementing his legacy by rising off the canvas to outpoint the feared Russian puncher in their first fight. At the time, Ward was a former dominant super middleweight who had recently moved up to light heavyweight, where he would enjoy the same measure of success. Then came his epic turn, facing the unbeaten, fearsome slugger in Kovalev. Kovalev was a good boxer too. He had a great job, didn't he? Speaking to his former sparring partner Brandon Gonzalez at Capital Punishment, Ward's amateur boxing event. Alright, so he's involved in the amateur boxing now. Ward recalled the first thought he had that night when, in the second round, he hit the canvas I got to get him back. Ward said I wasn't supposed to be down there. I work my whole career, my life to stay off the canvas. I don't even do sit ups on the canvas. I don't stretch on the canvas. I don't do nothing on the canvas. I go on the floor to do it. Alright, it sounds like a little superstitious thing going on there. Yeah? Ward displayed something that most people tune into boxing to witness: resolve. Against Kovalev in that first fight, he needed to bite down and fight back in order to win a unanimous decision, and then he did. Everything about Ward's win over Kovalev felt like something from a bygone era, and not surprisingly, he has since been labelled a throwback fighter. Because my thing is this. We're not supposed to be down there, Ward said, being knocked down. It happens, but I'm just happy that I knew what to do when I got knocked down. I knew to roll over, get myself together, and get up. I don't think you can really teach, and the coaches know what I'm saying. I don't know if you can teach that kind of toughness and the grit and the resolve. You can encourage it, like, come on, you got to go, you got to fight, you got to hit them back. But that thing in you when somebody hits you and you want to get them back, I don't know if you can teach that. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, all of the intangibles, yeah. Like, there are certain fighters that are spiteful punchers. You see when Ali, turns over that right hand, there's a little snarl on his face. And the same with Floyd Mayweather a lot of times. I think there's a lot to be said for that, especially if it's contained. Um, but yeah, somebody hits you, you hit me one time, I'm gonna hit you back twice. A competitive edge there. I suppose they call it the dog and all of that stuff. And yeah, I suppose we all like to believe we have that in us, or a bit of that. But I suppose when you get up into the higher levels and you're performing athletically and you're getting properly slapped around, like, or do you have it in you to get up and go. And sometimes you see fighters earlier in their careers that they don't look like they have that, and then a little bit later on it comes out in them, and you get your Mickey Wards and your Arturo Gallis and guys like this. It's just that's just who they are. You can't question it, man. Nobody, even you would be stupid. You would look stupid if you were to question it. So anyway, look, let's see what we got here. Ward defeated Kovalev twice after stopping Kovalev in the rematch in June 2017. Ward retired 4 days later and has stayed retired. He finished with a record of 32-0 with 16 knockouts. Kovalev has continued his career. He's still going with mixed success, fighting 7 times since and going 5-2 in those fights. He is scheduled to return May 18th in Saudi Arabia against Robin Sofar in a second fight at cruiserweight. Alright guys, let's have a quick look at the schedule here. So on ESPN we have the Kholmatov, Otabek Kholmatov versus Raymond Ford. That's in New York. That's on ESPN. Yeah, so I mean, for us in the UK, that'll be a 4 a.m. job, I imagine. But yeah, I mean, the other one will be the same. It's in Puerto Rico. Amanda Serrano versus Nina Minky, and we have Jake Paul and Ryan Borden on the same card. So there we go. I mean, not a bad wee night of fights, really, is it? And it's kind of nice to get these nights as well, isn't it? Outside of the big fight nights. Sometimes it's nice to get a look at these other guys who they can get the spotlight a bit more. I'll have a super quick look at Twitter here. There's Clarissa Shields. Bit about Mike Tyson, Conor Ben. Alright, here's something to talk about. Conor Ben will become, this is IFL TV on Twitter, Conor Ben will become a world champion in the next 2 years. Agree or disagree? What do we think? Are we gonna, what is it they say, are we gonna keep it 100 here? Yeah. I think he could be maneuvered to a point where he where he can pick up a belt. Yeah, it'll be the easiest route, and if he can have a couple of decent fights. I think I seen somebody say that they would like to see him in against somebody with the same caliber of the last guy he fought. No way, man. No way. I didn't even think that last guy was that bad a fighter. He didn't perform. Um, and, you know, Ben was throwing everything at him and he was hitting him with everything. And he wasn't going anywhere. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see in his next couple of fights. Does that knockout power, uh, you know, reappear? Do we get to see that again? They step up his competition in the next 2 or 3 fights. You know, it's possible. It's certainly possible. And I wouldn't want to count him out altogether. I wouldn't want to just say disagree, and then watch him become world champion. I tell you what, I disagree. I'm not gonna sit on the fence. There you go. But yeah, what do you think? Drop a comment, man. Drop a comment. Why not? You can hit like, you can subscribe, you can do all that good stuff. Head to head. Oh, Burris, Abbas, and Sam Egginton were trading shots last night. It looks to be a good digging match. Yeah, they're in close. Yeah, fighting at close quarters. Oh yeah, looks to be a good fight. Man. Some old school stuff. Yeah, they're fighting in the. Who's that guy? They have it 140 pounds. That we'll be talking about. I can't remember. Okay, we'll finish on this. All right, Devin Haney. Floyd been hating a long time. This ain't just a start. I held my tongue for years because I respect the grace of the sport. But dude is a bona fide hater. Don't want to see nobody win if he not a part of it. I know he sent Ryan the sparring. I know he gave Ryan those pimp comments to say. Miserable old man trying to stop the fight. Alhamdulillah, I'm glad he revealed himself to the world. Yeah, that's kind of like a big step. It's a big move for him to come out and say that, isn't it? Because like a lot of those fighters, and of course he, fought in the Mayweather gym and stuff, didn't he? Trained in that gym. And I suppose Mayweather, like as to all those guys, is like a revered sort of, and for him to step out and to be able to say that and to feel that he's big enough now, you know what I mean, that he can say that, because basically by doing that he is disassociating himself from Floyd Mayweather. Oh, I can't benefit from his power now, you know what I mean? So he's cut himself off there doing that, but at the same time he's come up and he stood up as a man and he said, you know what, I don't care if I'm not going to benefit from your power or your friendship or mentorship or whatever. What you did to me was wrong, and I don't play that shit. So you gotta respect Devin, man. You gotta respect Devin. Yeah, he really messed Ryan up in that press conference. He was on his game, trash talk wise. They were right up in the face off, and he was. We don't know what he was saying, but he was he was mouthing off on him, And Ryan just, poor guy, he looked lost. He looked lost altogether. Yeah, hopefully he gets cleaned up. We get to see this fight, So it's all good, guys. Yeah. So Raymond Ford, Otabek, Kholmatov. Hopefully we're gonna see some good action tonight, guys. And yeah. There's not much more to say, but Belfast Blues and boxing, have yourself a lovely Saturday. I'm going to be back later, like I say, with some musical stuff, whatever, man, whatever. And yes, I have a review of a couple of shows I went to last night. That's all in the post. And yeah, I'll see you later. Bye bye.